Hello, this is Richard with Simplified Manufacturing. This is a video about eARC and eARC and their proper uses. So when the eARC format was first created many years ago, it was pretty much shunned by most integrators and people because it just wasn't ready for prime time. It had a lot of flaws. The first flaw was lip sync. A lot of times it just didn't work. Another problem was CEC control, where one maker of one display and one maker of another source may not get along, and you may not be able to control them like you're supposed to with CEC. So for those reasons, it was pretty much universally shunned by most integrators. There was some acceptance in the end user market, but for the most part, eARC was ignored. Recently, a new format has come to fruition called the eARC format. And the eARC format is a really good apology for eARC. And why I say that is that it solves a lot of problems of eARC and has the features of eARC as well. So what's neat about eARC is it's backwards compatible with eARC. So if I put a display into eARC mode, I get some of the features of eARC even on, features of eARC even on eARC. So for an example, you could turn CEC off with eARC, and you have mandatory lip sync. So if I've got problems with lip sync or got problems with CEC and eARC, if I put the display in eARC mode, it's backwards compatible. I gain those features in eARC. So it's really a really big change. The other thing that's really important is that it has 34 times the bandwidth of eARC. It is an audiophile's best friend. It is balanced audio. It's just a superior format. So when you use eARC, when you use eARC, what happens? Where do you use these features and these functions? So that's what we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about where to use these things, what devices, and how to use them. So the first one's called an ARC-X. An ARC-X is a really basic device. It is a ARC-only extender. It brings ARC from the display back to an ARC-enabled amplifier or an ARC-enabled AVR. And what it does is it allows you to get the ARC audio back and CEC function, so you can turn up and down the volume of the amplifier. However, as mentioned before, maybe that there's a conflict, or maybe there's a lip sync conflict. Remember, you could put the display into eARC mode, solve the lip sync, and disable the CEC. There's also an ability on this to do audio through it as well. So if you had to punt and just use audio, optical audio, you have that ability. So eARC is the letters backwards, but also it is an extender. So it takes AV, so audio video source, to the display and brings ARC back. So this is going to be used with an AVR where you want to have multiple sources in the AVR and send them to the display and control back and forth and send audio back from the display to the AVR. What's also nice is, if you notice, it's RS-232 and IR, so if you put it in eARC mode and disable the CEC functions, you can use a control system or a universal remote to solve these issues of control when you're not using CEC. The eARC1, this is a big difference. This is, first of all, it's the world's first one. We've had it for several years now. We invented the eARC extender, and it works pretty much like we just showed you with the eARC, except it has 34 more times the bandwidth, and it's balanced audio. So if audio matters, this is the device you're going to use. Primarily, it's going to be used with an AVR, because that's pretty much the only things that are eARC enabled right now. And this will allow you to bring your 8K or your 4K display back in Atmos, Dolby Digital 5.1 Plus, and again, uncompressed in balanced audio. Much, much better format than ARC. The SW41E is kind of a little fixed piece. It's designed to do a couple things. It's designed to be a regular HDMI switch, but also if you put it in ARC or eARC mode, input 1 becomes an ARC or eARC output. So what's neat about this is if you have displays that are a little hinky on the inputs, or you don't have enough inputs and you still need ARC, or you are using the amplifier like in the very first diagram with the ARC-X, and the end user says, I want to add Apple, I want to add Sonos, or Roku, or etc. to my Sonos, then it may not be practical to put all that behind a display. So that's where the eARC and the SW41E gives you the ability to make that neat little system. The other thing that's cool is you can put it in auto switch mode, so the last thing it's on plays. So as you turn on these sources or turn them off, they'll automatically switch. So it's pretty neat. Other devices. So something to be noted that we're not covering everything in this video, just kind of the surface, but I want to let you know that the eARC format is going to become more and more popular as displays become more and more popular with these functions, right? People want their display to have Netflix in it or whatever, and they're going to want that to happen. So these features are being built into the new technology. This particular device is on what's called HDBaseT 3.0, and it has eARC built into it. So what makes this piece unique is it's the world's first 40 gig on category cable. You heard that right. This is a 8K extender or a 4K 120 extender on category cable, and it will support eARC. So pretty neat, a lot of stuff coming. So other considerations, optical. Optical is not dead. Optical is still pretty alive and well, and there's legacy soundbars and stuff out there. So say for an example, you purchase one of these new Zoomy Cool TVs, or your customer does, and you notice there's no optical, or you notice there's a dramatic sound difference between the optical coming out of the display and what you had before. That's because the rules are different. So as the source, that TV can only output up to Dolby Digital 5.1. However, you can extract up to Dolby Digital 5.1 plus out of an HDMI stream. So we make a device called EX1L that's an extender that has an optical out, and there's a micro 2 ISW coming as well, and this will allow you to feed that legacy soundbar in a manner that's better than what you're probably going to get out of the display. Okay, so the other thing about optical is you may want to bring it back. People still use optical to get back to a optical enabled amplifier. It may not have the ability to do ARC or eARC, and so we do build an extender called an EXTDA that will allow you to do optical to optical, analog to analog, or optical to analog as long as you put the display into PCM mode. Some displays are losing this feature, so there may be a need to use another device. We do make another device called a DARC1, DARC1, and that device is a ARC to analog audio down mixer. So what's neat about this is if you want to do a headphone or something like distributed audio, this will allow you to get the ARC into the analog format, or maybe use it with the EXTDA I just showed you. So quick recap. eARC is the best audio format. It is 100-fold better than optical. It's 34-fold better than ARC. It's 34 times the bandwidth, has mandatory lip sync, and does not have to have CEC engaged. So it's the best. If you don't need that, ARC is a good compromise, and you can disengage CEC and engage lip sync by engaging the eARC mode on the display. Optical is a compromise out of a new display, as I mentioned. It's best to extract it from the HDMI stream, but you can also use the DARC1 if you want to convert ARC to analog. Also, don't forget we can help. There are many more devices, including matrix switches and stuff that support ARC. The demand for ARC is going to increase as consumers demand their display be their source. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please contact us at www.simplifiedmfg.com or info@simplifiedmfg.com. Thank you again for your time.